Good morning, folks. Today is the day that we do it. We start Julius Caesar. Super excited about it. Super stoked to kind of get this down. What we're gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and make some video lectures so you guys don't have to sit and listen to me speak the entire class. Instead you guys can kind of move at your own pace. You can rewind and kind of do whatever is helpful for you. But we are going to get started. So this is our abridged version of Julius Caesar. It is going to be a shortened version. So this is really only like 47 or 32 pages in comparison to, a story that is normally over 100. So I think this is definitely the way to go. So it is the abridged version. But there are a couple of things that I do want to go over before we start. Number one, I want to remind you guys where we left off. This play is starting at the point in which we had the triumvirate, right? Or the first triumvirate. And you had Crassus, Pompey, and Caesar. I was saying Pompey earlier. I think it is Pompey. And essentially, these three shared power, right? These three shared power. Crassus dies, and then we're just left with Pompey and Caesar. Eventually, Caesar gets an idea that he can kill that fool, and Pompey tries to run away. And then next thing we know, the inevitable, Caesar actually ends up getting Pompey dead, and Caesar now has the power. So where this play is picking up, this first scene is March 15th, 44 BC in Rome. These people are celebrating and are ecstatic that Julius Caesar has defeated the the old triumvirate and Pompey, and they are now in the streets having like a giant celebration. Imagine you kind of do all of these things. Like say when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, this big victory happened, and we had this giant parade. They used to do it back in the day when people would go up in space and then land successfully. They would have a giant parade in a certain city, or certain speeches, or like when the president is inaugurated, they might have an inauguration parade. Okay, so imagine this is a giant parade in celebration for Julius Caesar having that victory and having all of that power. Okay, so that's kind of where we're starting. We're starting in the streets of Rome with two characters. As you can see at the top, I've listed the two characters. We have Flavius and Morellus. Now, those names sound kind of crazy, but you got to think of it like this. This is a story that takes place in Rome. We're going to see Roman names. Okay, so try and get comfortable with saying these. And if you were to go back into your character chart, which we have both in Canvas and on our PowerPoint slides, you're going to notice that Flavius and Morellus are not people that we've talked about. That's because this is the only scene in which you will hear from them. Okay, they'll be talked about and they'll be discussed in other scenes, but this is the only scene that they're actually in. So don't feel like these are main characters. These are just kind of like a side story, and we're going to see kind of what happens with them. Okay. The other thing I want to mention is you got to remember that this is a play. So we have to read it like that. Okay. So you're going to see there's these little italicized notes. These are like different tone indications for these characters. Remember, this is not just a book. This is a play. You're supposed to be sitting down, watching a stage, watching these actors act this out. So don't just read this like it's a story. You have to literally envision someone getting angry or angrily shouting or having disapproval or being defiant. Okay. So those little side notes, those little asides that these characters are going to have are super important. And you just have to make sure you keep in mind that, this isn't just a story. This is supposed to be written to be acted out. Its purpose is to be acted out on a stage like in a movie. So that's what we're going to do. You're also going to realize that a lot of this words is in Shakespearean language, which is very hard to understand. What I did is we have vocabulary in context. So a lot of these words that are underlined, I have the meanings of right here. So if you don't understand what the word hence means, you can look up right to the side and you can kind of look right here at our little definitions, okay? I'm also going to be taking notes as we go, and you guys are going to be answering questions on the Ed puzzle I'll hopefully make with this video. All right, so let's get started. So remember, we're in the streets of Rome. We're a giant public street. I think of Broad Street in Philadelphia. There's a big parade because Caesar's coming home with all the power. Rome is in its highest success. Everything is going well. And then you have Flavius and Morellus talking to each other while in the middle of this parade, in the middle of these streets. So Flavius angrily shouting, "Hence! Home, you idle creatures, get you home." Now, hence means leave. Go home, you crazy creatures. Go home. Why are he's saying this angrily? Go home. Marellus with him in an authoritative disapproval, so in big disapproval, is saying, but wherefore art not in thy shop today? Why dost thou lead these men about the streets? And if I were to say that in common English, it would really mean, but why are you guys not at work today? Why is everyone out partying? Why is everyone here? Why do you guys take off of work and lead these men into the streets? Why are we having a parade? And the commoner who's defiant says, "Sir, we make holiday," which means we could say a celebration, and to Caesar and to rejoice his triumph. So we are rejoicing, we are celebrating. Today we're taking a day off, we're having this parade, and we are celebrating Caesar in his triumph. Now look, you got to take note of some of these things. He's saying, "Sir, we make holiday. Today we rejoice in Caesar's triumph." Let me highlight that. It's interesting because what this does, and I'm going to use the text box as much as I can because we have some room. What this is really saying, I'm going to put it in purple so it matches. We'll do this color. What this is saying is, look at how the people are acting. They're celebrating. They are celebrating Caesar's power. What does that mean? It means they like Caesar. They are fans of Caesar. Now look, they're very happy. There are some people who are not. And again, I'm going to try and match the color. Look at Marcellus, authoritative disapproval. You see Flavius angrily shouting. Marcellus responds to these people saying that we're rejoicing Caesar, and he says, angrily, look at angrily, wherefore rejoice? What conquest brings he home? What tributaries follow him to Rome? What supporters follow him to Rome? Really angry shouting. I'm going to underline some of these if I can figure out, if I remember how. Mark up, underline, right? Let me get rid of that. Or no, we'll make it no. Ready? This right here is showing Marellus this approval of Caesar, right? Because he's saying it angrily. He's saying it as if he's mad. He says, "What tributaries follow him? Why are you rejoicing? What conquest? Yes, he beat Pompey. Why are you so happy that he has all this power?" And then he starts insulting them. He says, "You blocks, you stones, you worse than senseless things." He's calling them literally rocks. They're cold-hearted. "Oh, you hard hearts, you cruel men of Rome," imploring with anger, just super angry. He says, "Know you not Pompey? And do you now call out a holiday?" He's saying, "Didn't you know? And didn't you know Pompey? He was our ruler. And now you guys are celebrating because he's dead? And do you not now call out a holiday? Are you not now rejoicing?" So what he's saying is right here, and I'm going to mark this up in a different color because I think it's kind of important. We'll do red. And then I'm gonna put a text box here. What's happening? What he's saying is, you rejoiced for Pompey when he had power, and now, or I'll say when he got power, and now you're rejoicing when he's dead? How does that make sense? You guys see what he's saying? He's saying you guys liked him when he was alive. You liked him when he was around. You cheered for him. Did you not go and throw flowers in his way? Did you not celebrate when he walked through the streets that comes in triumph over Pompey's blood? And now you guys are happy? You guys used to respect him. You used to love him. And now it's all gone and it doesn't make any sense. So Marellus is pretty much saying, how dare you? How dare you cheer for the death of Pompey when in fact before you guys were cheering when he had power? But comes in triumph over Pompey's blood, shouting. Flavius then chimes in, and he's commanding. So that means he has power. This shows that he has power. He says, "Go, go, good countrymen. and everyone else leaves. So now it's just Marcellus and it's Flavius staying together. And he says, "Go you down that way to the Capitol. This way I will disrobe the images, if you do find them decked with ceremonies." So just imagine this entire parade, this entire city filled with pictures and images of Julius Caesar. And they don't seem to like Julius Caesar, do they? They're angry. They're upset. They're mad. He says, "This way I will disrobe the images." So now we're talking about, he sends everyone away, and he tells Marcus, he goes, "I'm going to go disrobe, or I'm going to go vandalize the images. You will find deck with him." Right? So now, Flavius and Marcellus, Marcellus, I keep calling him Marcellus, Marcellus are going to vandalize the pictures of Caesar in the streets. So just imagine you guys were in the streets and you see a giant picture of Donald Trump and someone were to write all over it. That's kind of what it would be like. That is kind of what it would be like. Okay? Carlos goes, "You know it's the feast of the Lupercal," which we'll talk about another day. And Flavius authoritatively says, "It is no matter. Let no images be hung with Caesar's trophies, all about and drive away the vulgar from the streets. So do you too, where you perceive them thick. These growing feathers plucked from Caesar's wings will make him fly an ordinary pitch. Who else would soar above the view of men and keep us all in servile fearness," which is like slave. So he's saying we are going to be slaves of fear if Caesar keeps ruling us. If Caesar keeps ruling us, we are going to be slaves of fear. But what he's trying to say is we're going to go pick and destroy all of these posters of Julius Caesar. And in doing so, I'm going to put this at the bottom because it'll be a little bit easier. In doing so, by vandalizing the posters, it'll weaken Caesar and make him look ordinary. So people won't perceive him as some grand guy. They're kind of using what you could say old school advertising to make him look bad. All right, and I'm gonna make some of these different colors because there's a lot of red. So maybe I'll do green. We'll do dark green. I like green. Green looks kind of dope. All right, so we're gonna do green, and we're gonna do green. And again, you guys are gonna have all my annotations on the side. So let's take a minute and let's answer these questions right here. Let's answer some of these questions. So number one, what are Flavius and Marcellus doing in this scene? They are angry and yelling. They are yelling. They are angry and questioning why people are celebrating the power Caesar has obtained. They argue that Pompey was once cheered for, and now you are rejoicing his death. You guys, that's also an important thing to note, right? Let's think about this. If Pompey was once celebrated and now they're rejoicing his death, what do you think might happen to Julius Caesar? What do you think might happen to Julius Caesar? Just like Pompey, they celebrated his power. They're celebrating Julius Caesar's power right now. And then lastly, do you think they'll eventually celebrate Julius Caesar's death? Who knows? And then why have the people left their shops and assembled? The people are parading in the streets to celebrate the power of Caesar. So guys, this was Act 1, Scene 1. It is pretty easy. Just certain things to think. Like, what does this tell us that's going to be happening in the future? Why are Marcellus and Flavius mad, right? They're like two government officials. They don't like Julius Caesar, but everyone else seems to like them. So we're going to see, and really want to make sure that we zone in on the opinions of the plebeians. You guys might not remember who the plebeians are. The plebeians are the common people. So the plebeians are the people parading. So what we have to see is how do the ideas and the feelings of the plebeians change with the idea of Caesar. So as of now, the plebeians are cheering. But in a little bit, what are they going to feel? So that's something I'm going to mark up to. I'm going to put in a text box. Future or things to think about. We're going to say, how do plebeians feel about Caesar now? How may they feel in the future? All right. So those are some things to think about. I'm going to put that in blue font so you guys don't get it confused with little side notes. And we're going to color code this. We're going to figure it all out as we go. But that is pretty much Act 1, Scene 1. I hope that was pretty simple for you guys. This should be an Ed puzzle by the time you're seeing it. So I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it. So I'll see you guys later. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. All right.